Welcome to Hollywood WordPress.
Woo!
I see a lot of familiar faces, which is really cool. It looks like our group is beginning to kind of gel, and people are beginning to come back. So welcome back to everybody that this is, you know, your however many times you've been here. How many people here, is there anybody here that is a first timer? Okay, a few people. All right, good, good. Welcome. This is a question I like to ask at the beginning typically, is how many people here are doing blogging for their own stuff? They're using WordPress for their own websites exclusively? Okay, we have a few people are doing that. And then how many people here are designing websites professionally using WordPress for other people? All right, good. We've got a good mix. We're going to start this evening with a few announcements, like news that's happening in the WordPress community. One is that Orange County WordPress is happening next month down in Orange County, which I think is convenient. I think that's the way they should do it. You know, they should have Orange County WordCamp held in Orange County. We also have
last year they had it.
WordCamp.
Yeah, they had it in Ventura, and that made no sense.
Yeah, it was a lot of confusion around that. A lot of people didn't come out just because they forgot that it wasn't in Orange County. No, so WordCamp LA has been approved and is announced, and it's September 6th and 7th.
And 8th.
And 8th. 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Or 5th, 6th, and 7th.
5th, 6th, and 7th.
It's 3 days in September. The
3 days. Pick 3 days in September and show up.
Yes.
Or
Right.
keep an eye on the website.
That's true. You could also keep an eye on the website. That'll be launching in like 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are some other announcements that are happening in the WordPress community? Yes. You go ahead. You have. This isn't WordPress specific, but you. This is Marcel.
Hi, Marcel.
Hi, everybody. Good to see all of you guys. I have an announcement that I have an online entertainment magazine, cover charities, all kinds of things, and I basically am looking for someone to help me update the magazine and change the theme to another WordPress theme. I know for someone who I mean, I've been doing WordPress for 2.5 years, but I'm not advanced, you know. And I'm just wondering if there's someone here who might have some time to help me with that. That was one thing. And then the other thing is, because of the magazine, I go to a lot of all different kinds of events. And I'm looking for, my assistant left, and I'm looking for an assistant to go with me. And their only requirements are to drive and to hand out cards as I take photos. But they get to go to maybe $500 dinner events, you know, and have fun and, you know, basically.
Marcel, what's the name of the magazine again?
LA Variety magazine.
Okay.
And I'm sitting over there. If anybody was interested, you can come over to me. I can give you a card, and maybe we can make a time to talk or something.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you
So anybody,
much.
anyone that might be interested in this opportunity to work with Marcel, see her sometime this evening, or right now if you just want to go over and touch base with her, that's cool. This space that we're meeting in here tonight is provided by WeWork. It's a beautiful space. We're really appreciative. And Sarah, I'm going to bring you up just for a minute to talk a little bit about WeWork.
Hey guys, my name's Sarah. I represent WeWork. Nice to meet most of you walking in the door here. So basically we're a co-working space. We host a bunch of different startups, small businesses, and we try to have a collaborative, cohesive sort of networking atmosphere for different businesses and companies, and you can utilize other people in the space as well. So if that's something you might be interested in, I'll be here afterwards to discuss. We have different levels of membership, different types of workspaces, single offices, shared spaces. But it's a pretty rad community. We have about 9,300 members worldwide in about 6 different cities. Okay, awesome.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, so is there any other announcements? Do we have like things coming up that are happening in our community? Anybody else think of something that's, yes, go ahead.
Hi, this isn't exactly WordPress, but I'm, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Adam Bell, and I run the Los Angeles Adobe user group. And we run free monthly events around the city, and our next one is going to be May 22nd, not too far from here, a little over the hill over at Max CDN. Does everybody know Max CDN, the Content Delivery Network?
Yep. It's right where Coinga turns into Ventura.
Correct. It's basically right next to the video. That helps for everything.
In and Out, it's across the street from In and Out Burger.
I know that.
I know things by where restaurants are, so.
So it's a free event. There's free parking in the garage. They'll validate. There's free food, drink, and chips and stuff. But more importantly, we're going to have Jason Gilliard, who is actually one of the heads of the LA User Experience Group, will do a session on how to create infographics in Adobe Illustrator. So if you're interested in that, go to ladobe-infographics.eventbrite.com or just come see me afterwards.
I'll come see you. That's an announcement.
Yeah, but basically the point is Adobe Users Group, if you guys are using Adobe products, this is going to be an opportunity to like get a little more insight into Illustrator and how to use that to do infographics.
Everyone's something different. We Dreamweaver, we did the events with Natalie with WordPress in the past, and Noel, so.
Natalie's in every event everywhere.
Yeah.
So she's all over the city.
Yeah, we're rare birds. We can travel all over the place.
All right, great. Well, are there any other announcements? Yes, go ahead.
We got our beginners group coming up a week from tonight.
WordPress 101?
WordPress 101 group, so if anybody is here who is just starting out with WordPress, or if you know someone who is, come see me. I have cards for that group, and I'm happy to have them.
Great, thank you. We don't want to hear from you.
Okay.
This is Alex Vasquez over here, for those that have not met him, and he's now going to make an announcement.
If there's anyone in the San Gabriel Valley, we're having our WordPress Pasadena meetup this Thursday, 7 p.m. At the Copa Vida Cafe, and it's free, so just show up. And if you don't buy like coffee cake or coffee, the baristas will rough you up. So just be aware of that. Thank you.
Cool. He's going to be coming up and speaking in just a few minutes. You've already said too much.
Well, but I mean,
just come up here. No. This is Alex Vasquez, everybody. I'm going to do your introduction like while you're standing next to me, like make it all like, oh no, standing right next to me while he's doing the introduction. This is Alex Vasquez. A is for Alex. V is for victory. He is. He's a really great guy, above and beyond his skills in using WordPress and being a WordPress professional. But he's also a really great contributor in our LA community. Southern California knows him well. He's both famous and infamous.
Not true.
It's a lot of things have been said. Some true, some are myth. No, but how long have you been doing consulting now?
So actually consulting solidly for about maybe 2 years, almost 3 years. So, but I've been working with WordPress since 2008, I think, 2008, 2009. But really started to kind of strike out on my own, start taking on my own clients and everything. And what I'll do just to kind of get started, I guess. Is,
well, 2008, you were actually starting as a blogger more.
So
and you were doing SEO.
Yeah. So
and then in 2010, you kind of shifted it over to a more.
So I'm going to hand it over to. No.
I'll let you tell your own story. I'm like totally.
Well, no, that's actually a key point that I don't really talk a lot about. But my first journey with WordPress was as a blogger. And I knew that I wanted to get into search engine marketing, digital marketing, whatever you want to call it. And so I had kept hearing that WordPress was this awesome tool and that I needed to learn how to use it. And when I was learning it, it was never my intention to consult on it. It was never my intention to make it a central part of my business. And now it is. And that's how I make my money, which is a crazy thought to even really think about now. So
just to add to that, I'm going to say I feel the
this
same
guy
way
anywhere.
I think it's amazing that we do live in a time where we can actually build our own freelance businesses with technology tools and kind of build a suite of using all these technology tools together, WordPress being one of them, and run our own businesses. How many people here are already doing that, like using WordPress and using a suite of programs together? It's really cool. Isn't this just like kind of an amazing time we live in? I don't know. I think it's amazing.
It's crazy.
Okay,
so
I'm just going to get out of the way.
Oh.
This is because I'm already like, I'll just stay up here. I'll stand next to you. You just go ahead and talk.
This is not awkward
and I'll just,
This is not awkward at all.
Anytime I want to add something, I'll just add. No. This is Alex Vasquez.
Hi. So I'm going to be talking about a few things that can help you guys become a better WordPress developer. I'm going to make a disclaimer and tell you that I'm definitely far from the most advanced WordPress developer out there. There's a ton of people out there that are smarter than me. There's people in this room that know a lot more than I do. So, when I go through these different tips, it's just really, I guess I'm going to be kind of recounting my own journey, and maybe that helps you guys in some way or other. So I've got, I guess, 5 tips here, but if I have more than that, are you guys going to get mad at me? No. Okay, good. Oh, someone said that they're going to get mad. Well, you know what? Fine. Fiddlesticks. So, and I also make use of flames at some point during the presentation. Again, hope you don't get mad. So anyway, I'm just going to get right into it. So the first thing I'd recommend, you're already doing it. You're already here. So how many of you guys are just building sites for clients, whether you work for a company or you work for a client? How many of you guys are building WordPress sites for people? Okay. So that's attending events is huge for a number of reasons, because especially with respect to the WordPress community, you could also say this of the Drupal community if you're using that too, but there's such a wealth of information from people that you meet, specifically in the WordPress community. I went to a meetup in Orange County, Huntington Beach, and it literally changed the course of my life. It sounds like a really dorky thing, but I showed up, the guy said, hey, can I get you a beer? And it wasn't just because of the beer, right? But there was these people getting up, sharing what they knew, and I became intrigued. I wanted to learn more about using WordPress. Again, my journey started off as a blogger. I was learning marketing, but I also, had an interest in web development too. So I wanted to learn more about this tool that I was using, because the blog was starting to grow and I was limited in what I could do with it, and that was really hindering me. So the first big event that I went to was WordCamp Orange County, which, as Greg mentioned, is coming up June 7th and 8th. The tickets have not gone on sale yet. I will tell you guys, go to it. It will probably sell out within a day or two or less. Last year it sold out in like less than 4 hours. So they're letting more people in this year, but still I would very much be quick to jump on that. And by the way, these slides are on SpeakerDeck, and I'll post the link in the meetup comments section so you guys can get it later and see all this stuff. But the WordCamps are great because typically your session... Actually, how many people have been to a WordCamp? Okay, well, so a lot of you have. And along with Natalie over here, we organized the Los Angeles WordCamp in September. So, okay, so I'm assuming that you guys want to learn how to be, or kind of up your game in terms of being a WordPress developer. So, attending general meetups is fine. I would say still go to general meetups because you're still going to learn something. I learned a very just a random tip, but like in Chrome's DevTools, I didn't realize that there was a utility there that you could emulate different screen sizes. I had no idea, and some random person showed it to me, and I said, wow, that's actually really neat. So and I got that just by going to a general meetup. But there's a couple local area advanced meetups that I would encourage you guys to go to. So again, down in Orange County, there is a developer meetup once a month, and if you hit the meetup link that I have up here, you'll see what the schedule is. I forget which Monday of the month it is. Do you happen to know off the top of your head? It's on a Monday. It's typically the same Monday of the month, which is like the third Monday of the month, I believe. The general meetup is the last Monday of the month. And in Los Angeles, on the east side, there's actually an advanced WordPress meetup there too. And so the first time I attended this, the organizer is Joe Chelman, and are you an organizer of that too? And Natalie, because she organizes everything. You see, that she organizes everything. But when does this one happen?
We don't have a regular day. It's just a Saturday.
So just show up a regular Saturday, maybe Saturday the May 31st? Okay, May 31st. So it's not a random day, just kind of show up, and someone will be there, and you'll learn. But so I was just starting to. So my story with the advanced WordPress meetup in LA is I came away with two pretty awesome pieces of knowledge. I was just starting to learn Sass, and Natalie here actually showed me what she was doing with breakpoints, and she was just making variables out of them. She had like a function that she was using, a mixin, I believe, and it just kind of blew my mind. I was like, why didn't I think of that? And it literally changed my development for responsive sites, and it's made everything so much easier. And so when you go to these events, you're going to take something away, and it might be small, it might be big, but you don't know. And I would encourage you to make the trip, go to these events, come here, because you never know what you're gonna learn. And I'll get to that point too, because it's always important to keep the juices flowing and keep on keeping on. Okay, now this one might cause some debate, because actually when I wrote this, I wasn't sure why I was writing this, because when I was really getting going, I was a Genesis user, a Genesis framework guy. For about 2 years, I heavily used and relied on the Genesis framework. And there's a story I like to tell about this, but I'm going to throw another story on that too. Story number one actually is the one that I haven't shared too often, but I was doing an interview, and one of the questions that I was asked was, well, why do you use frameworks? Why don't you just build it from scratch? And I think my answer was along the lines, because framework, and that's a shitty answer. So I didn't really have a good reason. It's just what I knew, and it took care of so much stuff that I didn't necessarily need to know the nuts and bolts of how something works, right? The house had already been built for me. I just needed to customize the paint, right? So that's all I needed to know. And I didn't get it right then, because I didn't get that job. But I kept on learning. And then the other story, and this is the one that I tell more frequently. So I had a large project I was working on, and again I was using Genesis for it, and there was just so many different customizations that were required. And I had this HTML mockup that I was building from, which on the one hand was great because someone already gave me the markup and I could do what I wanted, but on the other hand, I had Genesis, which subscribes a very specific set of markup that you have to work within. So that didn't work, and I was trying to fight with it. I was trying to play with the framework, and I was doing that because I didn't necessarily know better. So what was the problem? I could not make the customizations that I needed to. I had 2 weeks to deliver on this enterprise class site, And the front-end developer that I was working with said, hey, where's my markup? And why doesn't it do this? Why doesn't it do that? And there was just, I was like, well, this is as good as it gets. Well, no, I didn't say that. But the point was, I was leaning on something and it failed me. I was leaning on a framework that failed me instead of building it from scratch. So what I did is I took underscores. How many people are familiar with underscores? It's a very lean starter theme. So it was lean enough to work with, and I said, that's what I'm going to do. And that particular experience, again, changed my life. As far as being a WordPress developer, it opened my eyes because I had to learn so much more about how WordPress worked. I had to learn, how do we create certain posts on certain pages from certain categories? How do I exclude uncategorized? From this list of posts and what have you. I mean, just little inane details. So the more that I started doing stuff from scratch, the more I started learning about WordPress and what it can do and how powerful it is. So, what I would say is, if you're using certain plugins, see if you can't build them from scratch. And I'll talk about that a little more in a bit. But definitely from the perspective of building themes, I think it is so important to start your journey from there. I wish I had started there. I really do. It doesn't matter how complex a thing that you're trying to build. I would say build something realistic. Even if it's just a simple, 2-column blog layout, do it from scratch. Your learning, your understanding will grow. And I honestly believe when you have that groundwork underneath you, it will make you appreciate frameworks better. I think you'll be better prepared to use a framework and understand when it makes the most sense.
And your sites will run faster.
And yes, your sites will run faster because you're just interacting straight with core, right? Instead of core Genesis, or your site Genesis, and then or whatever framework you're working with. So yeah, there's less overhead too. So I mean, there's a number of reasons to just build from scratch. But yeah, I do think that with the improved understanding that I have, I know when a better time is to use a framework, and it's not as many times as I used to think it was. So so that's what I would tell you there. Ask for help. So again, a lot of what I talk about comes back to community, right? So we're all here, we're all taking time out of our own day. We could be at home watching The Notebook again, which is probably what I would be doing, because that's my favorite movie, obviously. I'm going to watch The Notebook with you, Marcel, I can tell you. But it's one of those things that, there's a lot of egos in any community, and WordPress is no different. What I found more times than not is that even those people who you feel may be further ahead in the game than you, they're totally approachable. You can ask them questions. I can walk up to Greg and say, hey, how would you handle this situation? I can walk over to Natalie and say, hey, what do you do here? And just the other day, a couple weeks ago, we were in downtown LA having a discussion, just business-related stuff, like how we handle certain things. And you can do that with anyone who is ahead of you or behind. And I encourage you to do that. So, ask those questions. Ask me questions. If I don't know, I'll probably just lie and fake it. Or I'll be a good person and tell you I don't know, but here's someone who might. Someone in our Pasadena meetup group offered to take me out for a drink just so she could pick my brain on a project that she had taken up. And, I had time to take. So I gave her that time, and, I got a burger out of it. So I'm not saying do it to get free food, but, or give somebody else free food. It does take food to make this look good. So, But she had laid out what her problem was or what her challenges were with a given project, and I gave her some feedback, and I also gave her some other people that she could talk to. And I appreciate that, and I think more people need to do that. And it's not. I'm not saying that people should do that if they're not sure of themselves or not have that confidence within themselves, but just getting the alternative perspective can be a valuable thing. So I would encourage you to do that. Another thing that I did and have done and continue to do is, there's people that I have look at my code for certain functions, sometime, I'm trying to think of a particular example, I'm blanking, but okay, so I had some sort of image that was tied to post format that needed to be dynamically generated. Not a huge deal or anything like that, but I kind of had this hacky method in place, and I had a buddy of mine named Brandon Dove look at it, and he says, "Wow, this is." It looks like you worked really hard on this. He said, I could probably, reduce, 12 lines of code. He said I could probably knock this down by like 50%. And, he told me about certain core functions I could use, specifically get template part, which I didn't know about. But learning that little tip right there, asking for someone to look at my code and tell me, hey, your code kind of sucks, or it could be better. He didn't tell me my code sucks, but I knew it right here. But the thing about that was, yes, it was humbling, but at the same time, I learned a lot. And again, I'm telling you here, I'm not like some sort of elite level developer, but I'm a lot further along now than when I was, and that's good. That makes me better at what I do. That makes me more capable, more confident. And, like Greg over here said earlier, own your space. So, that's what I'm owning. I'm pretty darn okay, gosh darn it. So, and so yeah, just don't be afraid to walk up and ask people for their input. And so I've alluded to this one a couple times. So with this, I think I think I could have read the codex a lot more when I was starting out, because the WordPress API is so extensive. If you're trying to think of a way to do something to query data to get something to function a certain way, chances are there's a function that's been written for it. You just need to do some research. Just Google it, go through the codex. You will spend a lot more time in the codex in the quest to up your game. How many people read the codex today, actually? How many people were in there today? I mean, no matter how advanced you are, you will always be reading it.
What is the codex?
So the codex, so what is the codex? That was the question. So the WordPress codex is just, it's a knowledge base of all the different functions within WordPress. So just different functions, classes, what have you. So it's pretty thorough. It's by no means, complete, but it's a user-contributed knowledge base. And
you don't do that, you just like Google a term and it goes on the codex and find a bunch of other things.
Oh yeah, no, and Google is your friend, obviously. So you will learn a ton. So.
Where does the codex? Where does that exist? Is that hosted by someone else?
Stop it. You know the answer to that.
No, this is good.
Yeah, no, so I think, well, the codex, I believe it's like codex.wordpress.org. I'm like, I don't know the URL. But yeah, so codex.wordpress.org, if you're trying to find the answer to something, it's not a bad place to start.
Browser.
What's that?
Browser too.
Well, I mean, it has its own built-in search engine, which is tied into Google. So even if you do a search through the WordPress codex, you'll find information pretty effectively.
Although in a lot of cases, you find the articles on other websites, you might find more educational and easier to read type of page, and you will find a WordPress codex. In this case, it's WordPress codex.
You might find crap too.
Well, in any case, I mean, these are both valuable tools. So Google it, codex it. I don't think you can make codex a verb, but I just did, so there. But another thing that I'd also recommend too is if you can, there's certain functionality that we use plugins for, right? For like forms, for sliders, and whatnot. For simpler functionality, you know, try doing it with core WordPress functions. You know, over the last few months, I've been building out sliders just using core WordPress functionality, just because I wanted to see how it all worked. So generally, I don't build sliders from scratch because I don't need to. I have access to a number of really awesome slider plugins. But again, just wanting to learn and improve my knowledge set, I started doing this work just, you know, using core functions. So you know, there's going to be certain things that you can do, like either menus. You can, I mean, most menu systems are pretty much built in using WordPress core functionality anyway. But the point is, you know, for simpler functionality, try to see if there's a WordPress function for it, and, you know, see if there's a tutorial that you can follow to kind of get through it and build it for yourself. And this kind of ties into reading through the codex, but you're going to be reading a lot. You're going to be bleeding from your eyes. You woke up for that. You're going to be bleeding from your eyes, young lady. So I hope blood does not make anyone here queasy or anything like that. So I have a very soothing voice. I can't help it. So here's just a few suggestions of places to read if you're doing a lot of WordPress development. The make.wordpress.org site, you see a lot of discussions happening there and agendas set about what's coming down the pipe through WordPress. So if you want to learn what's coming in WordPress next, reading that blog, and then also joining some of the IRC channels. I think it's WordPress-dev, which, how many people in here use IRC? A few. So has anyone actually been on WordPress dev? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's interesting to see what the chatter is going on. So I would definitely recommend that. WP Beginner, I know this is you know, talking about advancing your skill set, but the reason why I like WP Beginner is there are actually a lot of wonderful tutorials on that site, just building things from scratch without, you know, using plugins and you know, any special magical stuff. So that's a good place to, you know, just start trying things out to improve your knowledge set. Knowing what WordPress coding standards are, just, you know, how to format the code that you're writing, knowing how it's done in core, that's something else that's going to be valuable to you as well, because as WordPress developers, we should strive to, you know, build things to that adhere to core standards. It just makes for cleaner code and increased compatibility with the sites that we're building, plugins that they're using potentially, and what have you. WP, the WP Develop blog is also another good resource. It's a lot different than makewordpress.org. Again, you just see a lot of discussions there with what's going on with WordPress in general. Then there's a couple, there's a few other sites that I'd recommend. There's this nifty little site called geekgirllife.com. It's by this one gal named Natalie. Natalie MacLeese is over here. Now, I haven't spent a ton of time going through her site, but this past week I was going through just to kind of see what she had been writing, and she wrote this awesome piece about, you know, like 8 responsive typography techniques. It's an awesome read. and you can follow along with what she's doing there. But people like Natalie, are writing things that are actionable. That's the most important thing. Is finding people who contribute and put information out there that you can follow. So I would definitely check that site out. For anyone that really wants to up their game in theme development, the Theme Shaper theme tutorial, the first edition of that is where I really started to learn how to really build themes and dissect them, know what everything did. So it's a 12 or 13 part series, completely free. Go to it, complete it. Take a few hours out of your day. Maybe you need maybe an hour each day to go through each of these lessons. But I would highly recommend this. There's this developer named Justin Tadlock who also has some amazing tutorials. And I thought I threw this other site up there. There's this guy named Paul Underwood. He's a developer out of the UK, and I believe that one is. I'll throw it on here after I'm done talking. But I think it's paulund.co.uk. His tutorials are also fantastic, and of course this is not a comprehensive list, but I would say that these are kind of good starting points for just kind of upping your game. So that's not all. So this will be on fire for a few seconds. Just a couple more. I warned you about flames and stuff. Okay, yeah, okay. So there's way more than 5 things to improve yourself and become a better WordPress developer. So I'll share some of those with you. Something that I started doing last year is I started playing with the WordPress nightlies. And so you can get the nightlies off of GitHub, and you can see what the most current versions of WordPress. You can preview those features early and see what's going on with them. Now, who in here uses a tool called ServerPress? Okay. So I use that tool. One of the things that I love about ServerPress, and it's what ServerPress is for those that don't know. It just helps you create a local web server development environment on your desktop or laptop, and it's very much honed to WordPress. So if that's what you're building all day, it will save you time. One of the features I love about it is that it has something built in called blueprints. So these are profiles that you can install that have certain themes, certain plugins installed, certain versions of WordPress. Well, I use blueprints along with version control to pull down the current versions or the nightly versions of WordPress. Or I could travel back in time and use version 2 point something and just kind of see what that mess looks like back then. So I would definitely play with it, preview what's coming out, see how it interacts with your current website, see how it works with your current plugins, and it's a good lesson to see if anything breaks, and it's just kind of cool to see what's coming down the pipe. Let's see. I think I have another. Oh, yeah, another one. So, okay. A lot of what I talked about has to do with, asking people for information, finding your own information. The other part of this is, kind of relates to a philosophy that I have that a lot of other people have too. But, we're all teachers, right? We all have something to share. We all have something to teach somebody. you don't have to necessarily be like the go-to source for all things WordPress. You have something to contribute, so you can have those conversations. You can relate things to other people, you know, like Natalie, like Greg, or you know, anyone here. So we have something to teach. We have something to share. And one of the ways that we learn more, one of the ways that we excel and grow is by sharing what we know. This is why I don't mind taking time to help people, you know, just answering questions about approach to things. This is why I'm happy to answer questions. This is why I'm happy to attend meetups and speak to people, because even though I'm sharing this knowledge with you, I'm also learning things too. And you know, based off of these experiences, I'm hoping, you know, some of what I've shared, you got some small nugget out of it that you didn't know before. And if you didn't get anything out of this, then you should be up here. You should be talking next time and sharing what you know that expands on, you know, what I shared. So that said, how can we get involved? There's a number of ways that you can contribute to WordPress. There's the user interface team, there's the theme team, there's the plugins team, there's the core team, there's also the documentation team. So, you know, how many people have contributed to WordPress in that fashion in any one of those teams? It's neat to do. The mothership, I call it the mothership WordCamp, but WordCamp San Francisco has a contributor day where, you know, people who use WordPress can, you know, team up and contribute in a number of different ways. And it's actually really cool, and we're looking at doing that for WordCamp Los Angeles. So, you know, I would definitely encourage you guys to participate in that. And another thing that you always hear, but I think this is true, is just contributing in the WordPress forums, helping people with issues. Again, sharing what you actually know and trying to help other people that might be a little bit behind in the game and try to take them with you. So that's another way. So just sharing what you know. Oh gosh. I promise it's not as long this time. So, you know, when talking about this, obviously different developers have different ideas of what to do to improve your skills, or, you know, just make your job a little bit easier. So I asked some friends of mine what they thought, and they gave me some answers. So I'll share some of those with you. Brandon Dove works for Crowd Favorite. Brandon is one of the people I look up to in the community. I think he's an awesome guy, and he really kind of leads by example. And I attribute a lot of my involvement in the WordPress community to the example that he sets, because he's an awesome guy. And when you meet him, you'll say the same thing. But his advice is, don't be afraid to break things. Be inspired to try things and fix them if they break. So, you know, clean up your messes, make a mess. It's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with breaking things. So I think that is, I think that is completely awesome. When I was building sliders, they did not work. They did not work out of the box, and you know, I had to learn how to fix them. So, you know, if you're trying these things on your own, figure out how to fix them. Don't be afraid to break things. So that's how you improve. That's one way. Carrie Dills, she's a Genesis framework developer. She's awesome, and she's a hell of a karaoke singer too, which again makes her even more awesome. So she says, always be learning. So that's true. You guys are here. So keep doing these things. Don't let the good vibes that you get here, don't let the information that you take in here stop. You know, keep learning, keep asking questions, keep going to different events, and just keep reading. So you want to, yeah, don't stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. Greg Franklin, he works for ServerPress, which makes desktop server, which I was just talking about a little bit ago. He says, develop locally, not on a live site. So how many cowboy coders do we have in the room? Yes, yes. So, Natalie and I cowboy coded a site once, and it was fun. So I'm not going to tell you to completely stop, but you will make your life simpler if you don't if you don't do it live. You know, like that Bill O'Reilly guy, he says, "Fuck it, we're doing it live." Don't be that person. Don't be Bill O'Reilly Don't be the Bill O'Reilly of WordPress development, please. Save yourself some sanity. Do it locally. Make sure it works. Deploy live. And if it breaks, it's not my fault.
I don't understand why.
What's that?
Why? I don't understand.
Well, if you're doing so, this is a good question. So if you have a live site and you're trying to make a fix to it, there's a chance that you might make things worse, and you might take the site down if it's not already down. So if you're doing these things locally, you can see if you've broken something without affecting the live site, and once you've made everything stable, then you can transfer it live.
What are you talking about? Since they're already being visited?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Chris Lemma, how many people know who Chris Lemma is? Okay. So I'll say this. If you ask him a question, he's going to make a blog post out of it. So I asked him, what's your one tip for becoming a better WordPress developer? He wrote a post. 4 other tips on how to become a better WordPress developer, frickin' guy. But he just says this: study the code of others that you admire. So many developers out there, most developers, have a good night. Most developers out there have their own GitHub repositories, and GitHub is just a place where you can store your code publicly or privately and share it, or not share it. But there's a couple developers that I like to see what they're doing with their code. Justin Tadlock, Andrew Norcross, among a few others, well, many others actually. But you know, look at plugins that are hosted on GitHub, see how things are made, and again, you can do this with WordPress core. Go through the repository, look at things, try to understand what the code is doing. It's especially useful if you're looking at something, I mean, just picking like WP config and going through and seeing what each of the parameters does, knowing what's responsible for what. Okay, this is how you set up the database name. This is where you set the password. Little things like that can help improve your understanding. I know that was a really basic example. Devin Walker at wordimpress.com. This guy's a beast. He's like taller than me, and he's got broad, majestic shoulders and stuff. I totally have a bromance for that guy. Don't tell him I said that. But really smart guy. And he says, I would say the only way to improve is by continual practice. The more time spent coding, the more improved the code will become. So practice makes perfect, right? So that's what that comes down to. And Nathan Tyler, who is a co-organizer of WordCamp Los Angeles and my co-organizer for the WordPress meetup in Pasadena, use version control, even if you're just working by yourself on the project. And I say, trust me, he's right. So how many people in here use version control? Not as many, but it's something that you should endeavor to learn. The reason why is it'll actually save your ass. And once you get proficient with it, you're going to wonder, like, how did I not use this before? And I actually trained a team how to use version control when I was learning how. So, and this kind of goes back to my other point. And actually, this goes back to a couple points, because Greg says, own your space, right? Own your knowledge. I was in no position to be teaching anyone how to use version control. I use Git for version control. I had no place to be doing that. But I taught a team of 6 how to use version control, how to work within a team, and I changed their workflow for the better. And that's not me patting myself on the back. I mean, yeah, in part it is, but the point is that we can't be afraid of what we don't know, because we're always going to hit things that we don't know. And we have to own our space, and we have to go in there, be fearless, and learn. And that's what a lot of this is being humble, knowing that you don't know everything that you should know, and be willing to do the hard thing, to be doing the research and just improving yourself. That's how you're going to become better. But back to version control. My computer went out, and I had lost a bunch of changes that I had made. But because I pushed my changes to Git, I used Bitbucket to host my code online, and I was able to pull it back after I recovered everything. So, I mean, that was a potentially disastrous issue where I could have lost many, many hours of work. Git saved me. Git saves. Git saves. So that's all I'm going to say. But beyond that, no more flames. Oh, shoot. More flames. Not 18. This might be 18 seconds worth of flames. Actually, it is. So I'm just going to say, does anyone have any questions? Because that's all I got. Still flames. Still flames.
Is that a WordPress plugin?
What's that?
Is that a WordPress plugin?
The flames? I wish it was, and you know what? I'm going to get right on that. I'm going to learn how to do a plugin that emits flames and just nothing but. But yeah, so if you guys... No. So does anyone else have any questions? Other than Greg? Other than Greg. Because and you can also come talk to me afterward, but yeah, that's... Oh. Well, I knew it, so I knew HTML, I knew CSS, I knew some JavaScript coming into it. PHP was still a pretty barren landscape, so that was something that I had to learn a lot of. But I learned, what's that? Well, so because I was working so much with WordPress, I essentially learned how PHP works within WordPress. So I didn't start off by learning, PHP through traditional channels, and yeah. Mm-hmm. No. That's a good point.
Also, the amount of PHP you actually have to learn to build relatively professional websites for WordPress is pretty limited. It doesn't go too far afield into deeper core aspects of PHP. So I'd encourage anyone to get into it and not feel intimidated by it.
Yeah.
What version PHP is or what's the requirement?
The minimum requirement, that's a good question. Yeah, minimum version, 5.
They support 5.2.
Yeah. 5.2, I think, is the low end. Yeah. Is it 5.4? The codex says it. It's on the codex, I can tell you that much. But, Greg, are you...
Yes, my question for you is...
I was just kidding. So does anyone else...
So when you're developing your own, like you're using _s and you're developing your own framework, what is your opinion on some of these emerging tools like Visual Composer, or I know there's like several others.
Yeah.
Have you ever done something where you've like taken one of those tools and used it in a theme that you've been developing from the ground up?
Sure, and that's a good question. So so what Greg's referring to is there's this swath of tools that are hitting WordPress. There are these page building tools that help you, that assist you in building layouts using just drag and drop. Yeah, Velocity Page, Thrive Content Builder is another one I've been looking at. Thrive Content Builder, yeah, and Visual Composer. So I like them for what they want to do. They're still a little difficult and cumbersome. Visual Composer is very cumbersome to use. I've had clients that have used it that are just confused by it. I have a client trying to use the Thrive Content Builder, and they're still having issues with that too. It's just it's still a little wonky, it's still a little buggy, but when you're building stuff, thinking about the client's user experience in the back end of the site is just as important as what it's going to look like on the front end for people, because you're building them something that they need to be able to use, right? So you're like it's like you're handing a car to someone and say, here, go drive, and the car was made for a different country. You're an American, you're giving them a Euro car or something, and it's like, what is this? So we have to think about stuff like that. But with regard to these drag and drop tools, I think they are important because there are some people that don't need to learn how to be a WordPress developer. They just need to know how to run their business, and they don't need to be slowed down. And I think when we get to a point where these front-end tools allow people to just drag, drop, and be done, then that's a good thing, I feel, because not everyone needs to know what we know. And they don't want to. They shouldn't have to. That's why they hired us, to build them something that they can use and go about their business and do what they do to make money. So that's what I think about that. But that's all the time I have, yeah? Okay, that's that.